today for a quote. 1-800-908-7636. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-908-7636. Remember, 1-800-908-7636. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-smoker rate class. Exam required to qualify.
Do you have over $10,000 in credit card debt? The stress from excessive credit card debt can ruin your life. Collection calls, sleepless nights. If you're feeling the financial impact with unprecedented economic challenges, DebtBlue is here for you. DebtBlue uses secret programs that most credit card companies won't tell you about. They'll help you consolidate or settle your debts for a fraction of what you owe. With DebtBlue's Success Guarantee, you pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. There's no risk. The more you owe, the more DebtBlue can save you. See how easy it is to get started with free information. Let DebtBlue show you how 10 minutes could save you thousands. Call now. 800-200-6895. That's 800-200-6895.
I'm just living sky high right now. I'm very thankful for it. And the team at DebtBlue are phenomenal. They're able to work with you. They're great.
Call for your free debt resolution information now. 800-200-6895. 800-200-6895.
The IRS, the world's most aggressive collection agency. They can seize your property, bank account, and garnish your wages. They cause sleepless nights for millions of Americans. Don't be one of them. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, get protected today. Call 800-312-9970. Coast One Tax Group, protecting your bank, home, and your sleep since 2008. With hundreds of 5-star reviews and an A+ on the Better Business Bureau. Call Coast One Tax Group, 800-312-9970. Stanley from New York owed $93,000. The IRS placed a levy on his bank account. Coast One released the levy and settled with the IRS for $2,000. Mark in Michigan owed $225,000. After Coast One stepped in, Mark walked away paying less than $1,500. Call Coast One now. A 10-minute call can save you up to 93% on your back taxes. Get your fresh start today. That's 800-312-9970.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-785-9132. That's 800-785-9132. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-785-9132.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports. Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
It's time to get in the game.
Do you know what time it is?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis.
To me, you are nothing.
Your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Start it up, let's go.
Catch us Monday through Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Primetime. I'm your host, Jalen Gillis. Happy Halloween to everybody out there. Hopefully, you guys will be taking your kids trick-or-treating later, not stealing all of their candy, making sure they have a little bit left over. I know my son is definitely going to be out in his Spidey costume today, trying to collect as much candy as he possibly can. Want to thank everybody for joining in with me here today on this Halloween afternoon/evening. As always, if you want to be able to watch this content Monday through Thursday, 5 to 7 p.m., go over to YouTube, Centex Sports TV /Centex Sports Network, and you can subscribe there. Click the bell so you can get notified every time that we go live here. Or if you want to be able to listen to this content on your mobile device, whether you're at work, in your car, at home, download the app Centex Sports One on your mobile device. You can be able to listen to this content on Infinity Sports Radio, Central Texas. Well, folks, we're heading into another fun weekend of sports. And not just the weekend, but the full week now that we have basketball season fully back in action. And we're heading into what is supposed to be a good game. Hopefully it's not too much drama because my team's playing it. The Houston Texans versus the Jets is tonight. That game is coming on in about 2 hours. You guys already know, as soon as I get off the show here today, that's where I'm going to be, is in front of somebody's TV watching that game, hoping that my Texans can pull it out with no receivers, a beat-up offensive line, and hopefully we can keep C.J. Stroud up off of the ground. That's the game plan. Now, how we execute that game plan, that's left up to D'Amico Ryans and to that coaching staff, Bobby Slowick. How are those guys going to scheme and get guys open? I seen Stephon Diggs tweet earlier. He's ready to see the young guns. Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, that we drafted second round a couple years ago, third round a couple years ago out of Alabama. What are those guys going to do? Only time will tell. Now, the only thing that gives me confidence is, and we'll talk about this more later as we get later into the show, we've seen C.J. Stroud perform with not so top tier of talent. Now, Nico Collins obviously is great, but Nico Collins has missed time before. We just got Stephon Diggs. Unfortunately, he's going to be out for the season, and hopefully he'll be back ready in time for next season if we decide to re-sign him since he's on a contract here. So we'll see how that ends up panning out. But we've seen C.J. Stroud go out there and perform with not so top tier talent. We've seen him go out there and perform with guys like Robert Woods and Noah Brown and some of these other guys. We still have Robert Woods out there who will be helping out those young guns, some leadership. But honestly, it's time to see if Tank Dell can take a step forward. Last season, he came on the scene and was an explosive receiver, was a problem for teams to deal with. Hopefully, he can come back out and perform that way. He's dealt with a lot. He's had injuries. He got shot in the offseason. I mean, he's dealt with a lot of things, and he's overcome a lot of things. So hopefully we can get Tank in that number one spot and see what he can do. Definitely take him on the overs, in my opinion. I know they have Sauce Gardner and those guys out there, but I don't know if they'll be following him. I think Tank will do a lot of work in the slot tonight. But like I said, we'll talk about that game and break it down a little bit later. I'll have a play-by-play man for La Vega football on here with me later as well, Mr. Seth Igerhart. We'll talk about some La Vega football, and we're going to talk about his Eagles as well. We'll talk about some NBA today. We'll talk about not only this Thursday night game in the NFL, but I'll preview the rest of these games as we move forward. Now, last week, I'll just go ahead and say it's a little iffy on my predictions. It was a little iffy. Plenty of upsets. I thought Miami was going to go out there and get a win. I thought the Jets were going to beat the Patriots. I thought the Vikings were going to beat the Rams. So, yeah, my list didn't turn out so great last week, but I still had some good picks in there. I think I still got a majority of them right rather than wrong. on my predictions. So we'll go back through that again this week. We'll go through these games here in week 9, getting ready to start tonight. We'll go through those games and we'll pick our winners. We'll pick our winners in there. If I don't like a winner, I'll try to give you guys an over or under, something you can take home to the bank. Like I always say, this is just for entertainment purposes only, not some astute betting advice, if there even is that. So don't go taking your last couple dollars out there and trying to put this on the line with these predictions. But we'll go through those later, and we'll go through all of these games that we have on this week 9 slate. And we'll talk about some NBA games. Like I said, we'll talk some NBA a little bit later in the show as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of different topics to talk about. Obviously, I want to start a little bit on this World Series that just wrapped up last night. And we had Wayne Walker in studio yesterday, who was a baseball fan, and he was telling us about this Dodgers team that he's been a fan of since he was a kid, and he thought they were going to wrap it up last night. And I didn't expect him to be right the way that it started. A 5-0 start and the 5th inning for the New York Yankees, but in New York fashion, weren't able to close the deal out. Unfortunately, the Dodgers came back in that 5th and 6th inning, eventually took the lead in that game, and closed the deal out. Freddie Freeman, MVP of the World Series. Freddie Freeman on his 2nd ring now solidified himself, in my opinion, a surefire way to the Hall of Fame after winning the 2nd ring and showing up huge for this Dodgers team that honestly had some guys underperform like Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts had his moments here and there. But Freddie Freeman was their most consistent guy out there, and being a veteran presence for that team was big for them. The Dodgers end up winning the World Series. They have one of the highest payrolls, if not the highest payroll in the MLB, so it's not too much of a shocker. I'm sure they had a lot of people pick them at the beginning of the season to come out there and win this. But 160 games is a lot of games to get through, plus the playoffs. Then you go through a World Series with another team with a star-studded roster and Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, who's probably about to break the bank this offseason as far as whether he gets a deal from the Yankees or if there's somebody else. Giancarlo Stanton. They've got a list of guys over there as well. And the Chisholm kid, I like him as well for the Yankees. So will they be back? I don't know. It's tough to say in baseball. They locked these guys up for so long, and then yet and still Juan Soto, who was a main part of this team, is kind of up in the air right now on his free agency, doesn't know where he's going. So I don't know if the Yankees will be back, but congrats to the Dodgers and able to pull that one out for the city, man, pulling out their 2nd ring in I think 3 or 4 years now. So that Dodgers organization is really humming and starting to ring at the right time, and their money's paying off. They've invested a lot of money in their roster, and so far, so good. It's paying off. So that wrapped up the MLB season, and we still got plenty of sports here to go. Obviously, we're in the thick of it, the football season, and college football and NFL football. Basketball season has just started, and hockey, if you got some hockey fans that listen on here with us as well. But we know we're definitely in the middle of it as it comes to high school football, and I want to welcome on a guest here on the show, familiar face to all of you guys out here, Mr. Ced Eichelhart, play-by-play man for La Vega football. Ced, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on with it, Jalen?
Hey, nothing much, man. Just getting to it. And
where's your I thought you'd be in costume.
Nah, see, I think the rule is once you have kids, man, you got to drop that off. I don't know if I wasn't much of a dress-up guy myself, but my son is at the MCC trunk or treat right now in his Spider-Man costume. Gonna be keeping us up all night with all the candy that he's getting.
Of course, all the sugar rush. Yeah, and I don't blame you because I call myself the Halloween Grinch.
Yeah, okay.
There are some years where I've been known to turn the porch light off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
hey, I don't want 50 rings on my doorbell, y'all. I'm sorry if that porch light is off. I'm sorry. We don't have. All the candy is being taken by one right now. But definitely happy Halloween to everybody out there. And I've seen plenty of costumes. Just about every stop I've made today, I've seen costumes all over the place. So y'all are definitely in the festive mood and in the spirit of Halloween. Ced, going into just about the end of this regular season here for La Vega football. La Vega put up another great win against a Robinson team that was ranked in the state. They were ranked number 6 in the state, They were the leaders in this division in District 12 4A Division 2. And this La Vega team, man, it seems like each week they're adding something and getting better and better each week. And it's kind of all coming to a head at the right time as we're here towards the end of the regular season, about to go into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're really starting to become a really complete ball club. And I think what we saw on last Friday against Robinson, that defense kind of stepped up. Now, I know Robinson put up 22 points, but that was just, the McCurdy kid making some plays, because Evan Marino was really not a factor in that game. And he's the guy that I thought they were going to have to, really focus on. But, the Vega did a real good job of staying in Robinson's backfield all night long on defense. And that was something that we hadn't really seen up to this point. And but we know what that offense is like, 35, 35, 35.
Yeah. Week in and week out. Man, this La Vega team, like you said, they did a great job of staying in that backfield. The McCurdy kid is good. He's definitely a good player, but we know the engine to that offense has been Marino in that running game. And La Vega, as they do with this defense, man, they took away the number one thing you wanted to do. We saw them do it against Gatesville and their top running back that we had. We saw them do it against China Spring, and how they didn't let the quarterback get out, the Matthew Battle kid get out and rush for 150, 170 yards like we've seen him do.
And he did get hurt in that game.
Yeah. He ended up getting hurt in that game. And this La Vega defense has done a great job of containing these teams. Like you said, they're putting up 35 week in and week out. Yeah, but they've held a lot of these offenses down as well.
Yeah, and we know that they were fast and physical. And I think what you're seeing now, what they've added now, is a discipline. Everybody's playing assignment football and not just running to the ball, running themselves out of position, things like that. So, this is going to be a team that's going to make a real deep run in the state playoffs. They're 3-0 right now in district. They're first place in district. This is going to take 4 teams, so they're already in the playoffs. It's just a matter of seeing where they go. But, this is I really enjoy watching the way that this team has kind of grown up and developed over the course of the season. Because this La Vega team right now is much better than the La Vega team that we saw in week 1.
Definitely, and that was a great way to put it. We kind of watched this team mature and grow up as we've watched this entire season, from the start of the season and winning a game against Kennedale that Kennedale was supposed to be a good team, to losing the next 3 out of 4 games, going throughout that stretch in that super tough pre-district schedule that they had, and now getting into district play, a tough district. We know they got Gatesville, they got Robinson, they got China Spring, they got all these teams in there, and La Vega has shown up each and every week and proved to be the better team. Yeah, each and every week and week out. And now this week they got another really good test, like we always talk about in this District 12. Man, it's tough. It's a gauntlet each week, and this week they're playing probably the most talented team that they've played in district play so far, even though they've played a lot of tough teams in their district. And this Conley Cadets team that they had this weekend. Last week, their quarterback, Vincent, who's a 4-star prospect, one of the highest recruited players in this greater Waco area, he had another game that he usually has against Lorena. 9 carries, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw for a touchdown pass as well. The Braden Ford kid has been playing great football all year long for them and having a tough job of replacing a good stable of running backs that Conley's had for the last 4 or 5 years. You think of guys like Trey Wiseman, who's playing at Texas right now. You think guys like Kiefer Sibley the last couple of years, who's playing at UNT right now. Braden Ford has stepped into that spot now, running back at Conley, and he's played great so far. He had 20 carries, 166 yards, and 2 touchdowns in their win against Lorena last week as well. So talk a little bit about this Conley team and how La Vega is going to match up against them.
Yeah, Conley has a lot of talent at their skilled players. They also have some kids on defense that we maybe don't get enough run, don't get enough exposure. But Isaac Rodarty is linebacker, and Caden Cash. These guys are kind of smallish. They're like 5'9", 170, and something like that. But these guys rack up tackles. Oh yeah, these guys rack up tackles. And you just talked about Vincent, and he's definitely clearly the best dual threat quarterback in the district. Oh yeah, I think he's definitely going to be someone to watch in the game tomorrow night, especially because he's going to have the ball in his hand every snap. And you have to kind of figure out what he's going to do. So we talked about how La Vega has been playing good assignment football. They're going to have to show that discipline tomorrow night in order to keep Conley from sneaking away with this one.
Yeah, they're going to definitely assignment football is going to be the key to this one. You got a two-headed running attack with the quarterback and running back like they haven't seen so far this year. So being able to take this team on is going to be important. And on the offensive end, they got some – La Vega still has some dogs on this offense. Now, we just talked about their defense and what they've been able to do and taking away different guys. But we know they still have the mainstay and Bryson Rowland in there and who's really been so consistent for this team as – like we just talked about, we watched this La Vega team kind of grow up and mature offensively especially. But there's been one constant, honestly, throughout the season, and that's been Bryson Rowland, who just ran for almost 250 in that last win against Robinson and 4 touchdowns to go along with it. Talk about how he can have some success and kind of help dictate this offense against the Conley Cadets.
Yeah, what I think what La Vega would like to do is, give him a heavy dose of Bryson Rowland because he has the speed to get to the edge, and he also has the vision for the cutbacks. And he's just a home run waiting to happen.
Yeah,
pretty much every time he touches the ball. But don't forget the quarterback has also played better each week.
Every single week.
I think he's figuring out kind of what to do. He's a sophomore on varsity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now he understands what his reads are and what to do with the football and what not to do with the football.
Yeah,
because he was forcing some throws earlier in the year.
Oh yeah,
but. Yeah, so it's just and what strikes me watching film, La Vega and Conley, the kids, they're kind of like mirror images of each other.
Yeah,
fast kids, not the biggest kids in the world, but tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they just fight. They didn't never really know how to give up. Even when we saw La Vega early in the season when they played 2 number 1 teams in the state, never gave up.
Yeah,
so this is going to be the most entertaining game that I believe of the season because we also throw into the factor that these kids know each other.
Yeah.
They're right
it's
there.
just a highway separating them.
So the kids know each other. And so that's always going to be that pride that comes into play. But yeah, this would be a very entertaining ball game.
No, I agree. I mean, like you said, it's just these kids know each other. They're a mirror image of each other. And they also don't like each other when it comes to football. I don't know how they are outside of it. But when it comes to football, like I said before on the show, we had a chance to cover this Conley team for a few years out there and doing their games. And every single year, this La Vega and Conley game was the most testy that they had the entire year for either side.
Yeah.
And
we talk about Waco University being a rivalry.
Yeah.
I think this La Vega Conley rivalry is this even nastier than that.
Oh yeah, especially in the last
for a long time.
Yeah. In the last 10 years, it might be the best rivalry in this Waco area right now between those two teams. And you look at the amount of talent that both sides have put out over the last few years, and man, each year that we did this game, you knew that they were coming to strap it up. The stands will be full by 7:00. And, usually the fans kind of trickle in and as we go, and then we get towards about 8:00, 7:30-ish, then it starts getting full. Now, it's full. It wasn't any standing room the last game we did with them last year when La Vega came to Conley and played. People were lined up all along the fence out there. So this is going to be one of those type of games between these two guys. It's just a highway that separates these two schools. Sometimes I wonder, how do they even decide they're going to make these two different districts? Yeah. I mean, they got to be, a mile away from each other, 2 miles at the most away from each other and where the high schools are. So these guys know each other. Some of these guys are friends. They're family members on both sides of the field for each other. So this is always a super, super fun game when you get to see them. I know you talked to Coach Hyde this week, and you'll play that obviously on the pregame show and stuff like that. Just what's a little bit of how Coach Hyde is feeling of how La Vega has started district. I mean, like I said, they had some downs in that pre-district schedule, but since they've been in district, they've just been playing really great football and been one cohesive unit this whole time. Really.
Yeah, he said right now everything is going according to plan because his plan was to come out of. He really didn't care what the record was coming out of pre-district, but he was concerned with the progress.
Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing is the result of having them run that gauntlet, like you call it, of all those. And I think every one of those schools were Division I schools.
Yeah.
And so, he was really proud of where they are right now in district. I mean, he said that was the plan: come out, hit district play running, win district, and then, of course, the agenda, the final piece of the puzzle is make a run at the state title.
Yeah, and that's really the only thing left to do with this, because right now they're sitting in first place position to be able to win this district. This game will go a long way in being able to do that on Friday if they can close out a game against a super, super tough Conley team. Like we said, that's filled up with athletes. And this La Vega team, I really do feel like they have enough to be able to make one of these runs that we see La Vega make year in and year out, and making a run at these state titles, going 3, 4, 5 rounds deep into the playoffs. And I think this team not only has the athletes to be able to do it, but they're battle tested. And going according to plan, like you just said, that Coach Hyde said, that's the perfect way to put it. He's almost a mad scientist when it comes to this. He's been doing it for so long. I have people stop me at sometimes when I'm at the Baylor game and they know we cover La Vega, and they're like, man, why do they make their district schedule like that, the pre-district schedule like that? They're playing monsters week in and week out. And I say the same thing, man. Coach Hyde is like a mad scientist. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what buttons to push, which ones is going to make his team turn on or turn off. And he got his team in these games. And like you said, they didn't care what the record was or what what was going to happen. It's about the progress that they made. And now we're looking at the progress made as we're here in district, getting ready for one of these top games in this weekend against Conley.
Yeah, and this is a bigger game for Conley than it is for La Vega.
Yeah.
Because Conley is 2-1 right now in district, but they're currently sitting third. So you don't want to get that second loss. And then now we're looking at what scenarios you have to put together next week, and you may have to end up getting some help to get in.
Yeah.
So if Conley can win this game, then they're going to be a playoff team as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be tough because La Vega is, like you said, battle tested.
Yeah.
And they're, in my opinion, they're clearly the best team in this district.
Yeah, for sure. I'm 100% agree. I think La Vega is the cream of the crop when it comes to this District 12. And like we always say, this is one of the better districts in Central Texas and in Texas high school football in general. This is one of the premier districts, and La Vega being the cream of the crop of that district has them sitting in first place in the district and in prime place to be able to make a title run this year. So they got Conley tomorrow, folks. That game will be at 7 o'clock. Pre-game is 6:30. Definitely make sure you are getting ready for that. Tune in for that. Said is going to have more insight on the game, on how they can execute this game. He'll have you'll be able to listen to some of his conversations with the coaches about this. And I know Coach Garrick is ready for this game. He's a good friend of ours, and he's always fired up for these games, especially against La Vega. But it being a district game just sprinkles a little bit extra on top for this matchup. So you definitely do not want to miss this tomorrow. You can watch it on Centex Sports Network on YouTube. Also, you can listen to it on the radio on 94.5 FM and on Infinity Sports Radio Central Texas as well. So definitely make sure you get ready for that. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. Cedric's going to hang out with me a little bit longer. We're going to talk about some college football, and we know we got to talk about his Eagles, man, but they're looking good. They're looking good. I had them in my top 5. I always do my NFL top 5s on Tuesdays. I had them in my top 5 this week. I like what I've been seeing from Philly. So stay tuned, folks. We're going to see, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. Stay locked in right here on Centex Primetime. We'll be right back after this.
Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
The East Waco Empowerment Project, along with City Center Waco, is hosting WeBo, Workshop and Business Opportunity, to help create more entrepreneurs. Business owners like Aniceto Charles of True Jamaica Restaurant and Carla Dotson of Boardwalk on Elm attended WeBo to develop their business ideas into successful Black-owned businesses right in the heart of East Waco. WeBo can also help you turn your side hustle or business idea into the next thriving Black-owned business in our community. If you would like to attend this 10-week intense entrepreneurial workshop, go to WeBoWaco.org. That's WIBO Waco.org. Space.
This is live from the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports Studios.
That's right, sports fans.
About to show these boys how we do it. You ready?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis, your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Prime Time. I'm your host, Jalen Gillis, and we're here still talking some football on this Halloween afternoon / evening. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with me here today. Still joined in studio by Mr. Seth Eichelhart, who is the play-by-play man for La Vega football. That game against Conley is going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m. You definitely do not want to miss that at all. And Seth will be able to take you through all the moments of that game tomorrow. Folks, we just got done talking some high school football. Got to touch on a little bit of college football and NFL. We'll start with college football first, man. And it's been a roller coaster ride these last couple of weeks, man, as far as seeing how these teams have rearranged their order, the pecking order, and the AP Top 25, and in these conference standings as well. I just was on the show here yesterday with Wayne Walker, and we talked about trying to predict who are going to be the two teams in each one of these Power Four conferences. And man, it's going to be a tough one this year because of, like we talked about last week, how many teams they've added into these conferences. Now certain teams aren't going to play certain teams, and I don't know how they're going to make any of this out. But right now, you got Oregon sitting at #1 spot in the nation. They got 61 votes on the AP Top 25 poll. Georgia sitting at #2. And the #3 and 4 team play this weekend in Ohio State and Penn State, which is going to be a crazy good game. Once again, I don't know how these games end up being at 11 o'clock. You think they would push those back to primetime TV, but they got the 11 o'clock slot. Penn State and Ohio State, that's going to be a huge one, and it's going to determine a lot for that Big Ten. I'll ask you one of the questions I asked on here yesterday with Wayne, man. Do you think Oregon is the top team in the country? Oregon is sitting at #1 right now. And obviously, they probably deserve to be #1. They're undefeated still. They got a huge win over Ohio State. But they really don't play anybody for the rest of their regular season. That Ohio State game was kind of their best game. Now, I will give them credit. They did play a tough team in Illinois this weekend, and they took care of them pretty handily, 38-9. So I give them credit for that. But do you think Oregon is the best team in college football right now?
I agree with you. They deserve to be #1. Do I believe that they're the best team? No, I don't think so. I think Georgia is better than they are. I think Penn State might be better than they are. We'll see how that all shakes out. Mm-hmm. But there's a handful of teams you can throw in there. Army is still undefeated, and it's not so much that they're undefeated, but Army has just been rolling over people.
Yeah.
And what happens is every now and then, because there's really no prestige to Army football, right?
Mm-hmm.
But every now and then you get a group of guys that come together and they just, the chemistry is there.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, these are all guys who were in military school.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be disciplined. They're gonna come to
Top
battle.
shape. Yeah.
You know, so, and they're not gonna be intimidated by anybody.
Oh no.
Really interested to see what kind of run they can make in the CFP. But I guess back to your question. Oregon has probably the Heisman Trophy leading candidate right now in Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
Of course, he's been this like his 6th year in school.
Exactly.
Like but no. So the one thing that you know about Oregon is you're going to get consistent quarterback play, and they always have weapons, for him to play with. So they could very well be undefeated by the end of the season. But I think once they get into the CFP, I think you're going to see some stiff competition, and then you're going to see some close games.
Yeah, and they could go in there as the number 1 seed, and as their trophy, they could end up playing a 2-loss Alabama or somebody like that. Or, it's going to be crazy to see how this shakes out. One of the teams that was at number 1 for majority of the year, Texas Longhorns, they're sitting at number 6 now. They're 7-1 on the season after their loss to Georgia, and then they dropped another spot after they struggled against Vanderbilt this last weekend. We saw Quinn Ewers struggle again in this game. He had 3 touchdowns in the game, but we watched him throw a couple of interceptions, and that game was closer than what you would like to see.
Well, we talked about this last week.
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt has the formula.
Yep.
And so
they used it.
Yeah, and they definitely used it. And almost pulled off the upset.
Yeah.
Which would have been devastating for the Longhorns, because I don't think you take a 2-loss Texas team.
No. As much as they like Texas and much as they would want to put them in there, I don't think you take a 2-loss Texas team. I asked this question earlier in the week too about this Texas team. They got the talent on this roster, and we've seen them put it together at times. We've seen them not put it together at times. Does Texas have enough to be able to win the big thing this year, in your opinion?
They definitely have enough to be able to win. They just have to do a better job with the X's and the O's, and that immediately goes to coaching.
Yep.
Steve Sarkisian has his reputation of being the best play caller in the country, the most creative play caller in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think that he's putting his guys in position to succeed, especially on the offensive side of the football. So, this is going to be interesting to see how Texas ends their season, especially with A&M looking really good, and that was a team that I thought maybe would take a little while to get going. A&M is right there in the mix.
Oh, A&M is for sure right there in the mix. They're sitting at the number 1 spot in the SEC right now because they're the only team in the SEC that hadn't lost in the SEC play yet. And they might not lose an SEC play depending on how they close out this year. They've only got South Carolina and Auburn left before they get to that Texas game. And me and Wayne were talking about it yesterday. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like in that Texas versus Texas A&M game. If that ends up being potentially for an SEC championship berth, that game is going to be absolutely crazy out there in Kyle Field. These two teams haven't played each other in years in the regular season, and it's been way overdue. This was probably one of the best rivalries in college football for years. Yeah. And now that they're going to get back together for the first time, and this is the way that it's going to be, oh, man, I can't wait. And it's going to be over the Thanksgiving weekend as well. I can't wait to be able to watch this game. I'm hoping that both of these teams win out in the games that they have left, and that it gets to that last game of the season for them, and they have to play for all the marbles right there in Kyle Field.
Yeah, and South Carolina feels like a trap game to me.
Yeah,
for A&M, because nobody's really concerned about Auburn, and then Texas after that. So, but this is not a bad South Carolina team.
Oh no, they got a good defense.
Yeah, they're not a cupcake, and so I think this feels like a trap game for A&M to me. So I think they'll have a loss when they meet Texas.
Okay.
And if they both come in with one loss, like I say, that could be for the SEC title.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at all. But if you pick South Carolina in this game, they play this weekend, and A&M's a 3-point favorite. But A&M still doesn't know what they want to do with their quarterback. Last week they had to put the young kid Marcel Reed back in the game to kind of save them, and he did just that. But this South Carolina team has a good defense, and they're playing at South Carolina. And we saw this team take Alabama all the way to the wire earlier in the season when Alabama had to go to South Carolina and play in that crazy crowd, and the way that this defense has been humming. They got one of the best freshman linemen we've seen in a long time in Dylan Stewart out there for South Carolina. So you put all that together, and I'm right with you, man. I don't know if A&M makes it out undefeated in SEC play after this weekend. Now, like I said, I'm hoping that it happens because I would just love to see that game mean a lot. And it's, even if they lose this, that game is still going to mean a lot.
Still gonna, yeah. It's going to be a huge game. If both come in with one loss, it's still going to be a huge game.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm excited to see that. And this weekend, like you said, could most definitely be a trap game because it took Alabama scoring a game-winning touchdown pretty much in under a minute for them to win against that South Carolina team earlier in the season. So
yeah, they are really feisty at home.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Extremely scrappy.
For sure, they're a great team at home, and their defense can play. So it's going to be tough on a team that has a lot of questions at the quarterback position right now. So that A&M team is looking good. Texas is looking good, even though, like we said, they just had their struggles. I'm hoping that they figure out what they want to do with their quarterback situation and don't go into that A&M game still wondering, should we put Arch in, or do we put in Quinn, or what's going to happen there?
Yeah, I thought they never should have took Arch out, just because Arch is mobile. And Ewers is not.
Yeah,
and so Arch can escape some of the defensive blitzes or use his feet to extend some plays.
Yeah,
things of that nature. And they're loaded on offense. Mm-hmm. From a skill position, they got everything they need.
Yeah,
but they just not like I say. I just don't think that Sarkisian is making the right calls and putting the offense in a position to succeed.
Yeah, no, I agree. You called it a couple of weeks ago. You said it looks like Sark is trying to get a little too cute on offense sometimes, and I think it hurt him in that Georgia game, and it was kind of too late for them to try to come back. And in Vanderbilt, it hurt him as well. Sometimes you just need to run the football and throw play action. Sometimes it's just that simple. It doesn't have to be 4 people going on a jet sweep. It doesn't have to be faking the ball to 3 different guys. It doesn't have to be 10 guys going in motion. Sometimes it's just as simple as lining up. Our offensive line is better than your defensive line, and we're just going to go out here and win this game. Their defense has been playing up to standard. I can't even fault their defense. Their defense has been forcing turnovers, including in that Georgia game. They've been forcing turnovers week in and week out. The defense is playing great. It's just the offense has got to get back on track for them to be able to have a real chance of doing something this season. So I agree with you, though. I think Texas does have enough to be able to go out and win it all. It's just, will they put it together? I don't know. I think Georgia's the best team in college football right now, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think Alabama gave them their loss, and Alabama's got their number, man. They know how to beat this Georgia team. If nobody else knows how to beat this Georgia team, Alabama has shown over the years, going all the way back to, like I said, that national championship game with Tua, when they came back from down 14 or 17 and then won the game in overtime against Georgia. They just had this Georgia team's number, and I think outside of that, man, I mean, these teams don't want to play Georgia. I don't think Penn State wants to play Georgia. I definitely don't think Oregon wants to play Georgia. I don't think Miami wants to play Georgia. I like what Miami is doing and Cam Ward and those guys, but
Georgia will expose Miami.
Oh, for sure.
But
sure.
But with another undefeated team, a good ball club.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Cam Ward is probably the best quarterback in the nation, or at least he's playing the best right now.
Yeah.
So but I don't think anybody really wants to see Georgia.
No, I don't think anybody wants to see Georgia, and it's going to be interesting to see how this top 15 kind of shakes out because it's only 12 slots in there. You still got an undefeated Indiana team. Obviously, they still have to play some tougher competition as they go. They got to play Ohio State, even though I'm not just counting them out completely in that Ohio State game. I love what Kurt Cinetti has done with Indiana and how they're playing undefeated. He's been a winner at every level, and that's not going to be a pushover game for Ohio State when they play Indiana at all. I'd favor Ohio State in that, but Indiana is no scrub, and they're no type of pushover whatsoever.
Yeah, and this is not the Ohio State teams that we're used to seeing where they come in and blow people out. This is a team that can get got.
Yeah.
This is a vulnerable team, and Indiana might be up to the challenge.
Yeah. And the one matchup that you could use to kind of just determine these two teams, it's not much, but in that Nebraska game, we just saw Ohio State have to scrape out a win last weekend against Nebraska. Indiana beat Nebraska by about 30-something. So, I mean, Indiana is not playing around at all. Their coaches instilled ultimate confidence in them. So, this college football season is getting crazier and crazier as the weeks go by, and I think it's going to be another really good weekend with games like this Ohio State and Penn State, with a Duke team that's kind of a sleeper that Miami is going to have to come out here and play football against. They can't think they're just going to come out and roll over a Duke team that's sitting at 6-2 right now. So there's a lot of sneaky good matchups this weekend. as well in college football. I want to go on a little bit of NFL before we let you get off of here. Obviously, we talk about the Eagles when you come on here, and I got to mention them this week because I put them in my top 5. Now, Rocky and Wayne disagree with me a little bit on putting the Eagles in there. Rocky said only thing he would change is we'll take the Eagles out, and he said he might put the Steelers in there. My top 5 list this week was Kansas City, Detroit at 2, Baltimore at 3, Buffalo at 4, and Philly at 5. I just like the way that all those teams have been playing football in these last few weeks, and that's kind of what got me to that list. Now, looking at Philly's schedule, they're starting to get into form right at the right time. Honestly, this is the time where we're going to start seeing those division games that count. They got the Cowboys and Commanders in back-to-back weeks coming up in a few weeks. And they got the Jaguars, so I obviously think they'll take care of business against the Jaguars this weekend. But looking forward after that, they got a Cowboys team and then a Commanders team. And that Commanders game that'll be on Thursday Night Football, that's going to be for essentially first place in the division as of right now. What do you think about what Philly's been doing these last couple of weeks?
Well, I think the key that we've seen is Jalen Hurts. He's picked his play up. He hasn't turned the ball over since the bye week.
Yeah.
And when he's at his best, we're a dangerous ball club because we have the guys on the outside and Saquon Barkley in the backfield. So whenever Jalen Hurts is playing at this level, then I think there's not a team in the league that we can't play with.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that. And that's why I had him in my top 5, man. And the defense, we got to give them credit because we were all on them at the beginning of the season. The defense is playing better football than they were at the beginning part of the season. We've seen this Bengals offense take a lot of teams to the wire as far now that defense hasn't been able to keep up with people, but this Cincinnati offense has been giving a lot of teams problems, and we've seen Philly go out here and play a good game against this Cincinnati offense that's got a lot of weapons. So I think their defense is starting to play better. I think Jalen Carter is starting to come alive on that defense and emerging as a guy that's going to kind of take some leadership and be a guy out here week in and week out for this Philadelphia team. So
I think something happened in the locker room during the bye week because before the bye week, they kind of looked disjointed, and they had a couple of injuries, but they just didn't look like they were on the same page. But now everything's different. Maybe it was Sirianni shaving his head. I don't know what.
Yeah, something.
But you can see right now they're playing the best football that they've played all season. And they look like everybody's on the same page. This defense doesn't really have the horses. No, there's not a lot of studs on that side of the ball. Yeah. But they're playing as a unit right now, and that's going to definitely help because when that Philly offense is rolling, you're going to have to put up 35 points,
exactly,
just to kind of run with them.
Yeah. And I said it yesterday on the show. I think Philly's way of being able to do it is kind of going to be built like how those Indianapolis teams were built with Peyton Manning of, hey, we're going to score 30, and if we get up on a team, we're just going to get pass rushers. And then you got to see Dwight Freeney and Robert Manthis and those guys. Even though we might not have a lot of dogs on the defense, we're going to have those pass rushers that are going to be able to get after you, and they can close games out. And if we can see that from this Philly team, they can get better play out of Jalen Carter, who's been playing better, and Jordan Davis, who's been doing better at stopping the run, and get some of these young guys that they've invested draft capital in on the outside to be able to come out there and make some plays. I mean, the sky's the limit for this Philly team in the NFC East that's honestly wide open right now. Still, even with the Commanders having a lead on everybody right now, but I feel like I already kind of felt like their luck or their win streak was starting to slow down. But once you start winning on Hail Marys, okay, I think it's about to start slowing down a little bit now. Jaden Daniels is playing great football, of course, but they just don't have the talent when it gets to these last few weeks of the season, December and January football. I just don't think they have enough talent to be able to keep up with everybody else.
And I definitely agree with that. I don't think that they have the roster, that championship type roster.
Mm-hmm.
But man, talking about that Hail Mary.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Defensive player arguing with a fan.
Yeah.
During a play, Jaden Daniels gets 12 seconds to throw the ball.
Something you never see.
Yeah. And then the guy who was beefing with the fans comes back and tips the ball backwards.
Yeah.
Into the receiver.
Right into the guy's hands.
That was just one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild play from Jaden Daniels and like you said, the dude arguing with. I mean, I don't know what the punishment's got to be for a dude. You know, maybe you don't want to fine or take. Something's got to happen. I almost think it's got to be old school or something. Like he need to do some bear crawl, some up, down. How are you arguing with a fan 2 plays in a row? Because he was doing it the play before that. The ball just didn't come his way.
Yeah.
He was arguing with a fan before that. The Hail Mary is about to happen. You arguing with a fan again. You come back out there, and then you're the dummy that tips the ball instead of swatting the ball. Now, you one of the shortest guys out here. Stevenson was like 5'10", 5'11". Mm-hmm. You jumped up as high as you could to just tip the ball up in the air for somebody. And then nobody was playing the back part of the defense. That's almost the only important part of the Hail Mary is just staying behind everybody.
Right.
So if somebody does catch something, you'll be able to either smack it out of their hands, or if it's not in the end zone, you'll be able to tackle him for a short, and he didn't either. So
yeah, and I tell you exactly how you punish him. You find him.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah. You hit him in their wallet. That always gets their attention.
Yeah,
yeah. You definitely have to find that dude.
No, for sure. I mean, I don't understand what that's about, and hopefully they'll do something with him, because that Chicago team they're playing decent football now. They're sitting at 4-3, and I didn't expect them to be at 4-3, and we're looking at them in the toughest division in football right now in that NFC North, and they still have a chance to be able to do something. So hopefully they get that together, and the defense has been playing pretty decent so far. So as we look at these NFL teams going now into Week 9, we're starting to figure out more and more about who some of these teams are, and one of those teams is the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, with Russell Wilson, and I was a proponent of them staying with Justin Fields because I feel like he didn't lose his job, but I see why Mike Tomlin is Mike Tomlin, and he knew that Russ would add something else to this team and add another dimension to this team, and he has. He's added something throwing the ball. I think he can unlock George Pickens a little bit more. Obviously, Justin Fields is more mobile than Russ is, but I think Russell Wilson playing kind of can turn George Pickens into that number one that they drafted him and expecting him to be. What do you think about this Pittsburgh team?
Yeah,
like, what is the ceiling for this team?
This is a team that can definitely make the AFC Championship game with the way they play. We know the defense is always going to be solid.
For sure.
And what Russell Wilson adds that Justin Fields doesn't is veteran experience.
Yeah.
And leadership.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think I agree with you. He is going to unlock Pickens. And because Pickens is one of the most talented receivers in the league, he just hasn't had anybody to play with him.
Mm-hmm.
So Pittsburgh is. I think I'm gonna go on the record right now and say Pittsburgh is every bit as dangerous as Baltimore right now. And Baltimore is a complete ball club.
Yeah.
I think Lamar Jackson, he's playing at the MVP level right now. He's a little nicked up right now.
Yeah.
So this will be a time, if you're gonna see him a slide, that'll be the reason. But this Pittsburgh team is super super tough. And I'm gonna tell you another team. This is a dark horse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Indianapolis Colts.
Joe
Flacco? Because if Flacco comes out with the Flacco magic that he did last season, they may be able to catch the Texans.
I mean, I think if Joe Flacco played in the game Sunday, they would have beat us, honestly, because with the injuries we've had to our offense, and then the offensive line playing as horrible as they are, you wouldn't be wrong to say that. I think they're definitely a dark horse in making a run to that wild card. And can they beat one of these teams in the front if Joe Flacco's playing good football? I don't see why not. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. And then the AFC is so much weaker than what we anticipated coming in, and that's largely because of the AFC East.
Yeah.
We all expected the AFC East to be one of the premier divisions of football this year, with the Dolphins and the Jets and the Bills all coming into there. And now we're looking at they all have the same record as the Patriots outside of the Buffaloes. They're all sitting at 2-6.
Yeah.
And Buffalo's looking like a complete team. Josh Allen is playing MVP level football as well. Kansas City still doing. I mean, it's almost pointless to even talk about Kansas City because you don't even have to know how they're going to beat you. You just know they're going to beat you.
Yeah.
They'll beat you with the defense. They'll beat you with Patrick Mahomes running for 60 yards one game. They'll beat you with Travis Kelce having a 10-12 catch game. Now they add DeAndre Hopkins into that mix. I mean, this Kansas City team is rolling. The interesting part I do want to see in this in the AFC is who are going to pick up those last couple wild card spots. Now, you talked about one of them who I think is going to, and that's the Colts once Joe Flacco come out here and play. And the Chargers and the Broncos right now sitting in 5-3, and the Chargers sitting at 4-3. It's going to be interesting to see because nobody in the AFC East is really out of it yet. As terrible as they played, you put together 5 or 6 wins, you're going to be looking probably similar to where these Chargers and Broncos are going to be at.
Yeah, but
as we get through there.
Of those 2-6 teams in the AFC East, who do you have confidence in putting together 5
wins? I don't. Neither. Yeah. Neither. That's the problem. Neither. Do they have the roster to? Yes, of course. Do they have any cohesiveness or anything else? No. The Jets have so many holes.
Yeah.
And it starts from the top down.
Yeah, the Jets are done.
And the Dolphins don't have a coach. I'm not a fan of Mike McDaniels. I've been saying it all year, man. There's no way you can have this roster that you have, and you are sitting at 2-5 at this point in the season with the amount of dogs you have.
Well, I think that we underestimate the value of Tua.
Yeah.
Because there was a reason why they paid him.
Yeah.
In the offseason. So I think what we see out of Miami, the reason why the offense doesn't pop anymore is because Tua brought something special to the offense.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the Dolphins' biggest problem. I don't blame Mike McDaniel for that.
Yeah.
I do blame the Jets owner for what they got going on, because you spend all this money getting these resources together. I thought it was a bad move from the jump to bring Aaron Rodgers in.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the last 2 years in Green Bay, we saw him start to regress,
mm-hmm.
and then but they bring him in. They basically say, okay, who you want to play with? We'll go get him. And then they give him the keys. They give him the keys to the city.
Yeah.
And he's just not that MVP guy anymore. He's just not.
He's 40 years old, man.
And I mean, and if you watch him play this year, it seems like he has trouble throwing in the middle of the field. Like everything is to the outside on the edge. So I don't even know if the arm strength is even still there. Just the Jets are done.
Yeah, the Jets are done, and hopefully we'll be talking about the Texans getting a win over them when we come back here on the show. But I think they're done, like you said, man. I don't.
If the Texans don't beat the Jets, they ain't got to worry about it, because the Jets will beat the Jets.
Yeah, exactly. I think that might be the best explanation of the New York Jets football season this year, because a bunch of these teams weren't supposed to beat the Jets. The Broncos weren't supposed to beat the Jets, scoring 10 points.
The Patriots had no business beating the Jets.
No business beating the Jets whatsoever. Those two teams alone, the Jets beat themselves to the fullest on those two games right there, especially the Broncos one where Bo Nix throws for like 60 yards and you lose 10-9. Like that is just completely unacceptable. I don't care who's playing, who's the coach, who's the quarterback. That's unacceptable by everybody. And this Jets team, man, I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be one of the more interesting off seasons. I know they gave them the Hard Knocks like last year. This should be the year y'all do Hard Knock. I have no idea what's gonna happen in this off season. This off season is gonna be completely wild for the Jets. I think once they lose their next few games, which they're probably gonna, I have no confidence in them winning any games at this point. I mean, once you lose to the Patriots, you can lose to anybody. I can't go out there and say you'll beat the Rams, even though they got the Rams on here, because now the Rams got Puka back and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
I can't go out here and say you're going to beat the Dolphins now that they got Tua back. I can't go out here and say you're going to beat the Cardinals or the Colts, who you have after the Texans, because the Cardinals and Colts are both sitting at 500 right now. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this upcoming offseason, I don't know who's going to be on this team for them. I have no idea who's going to be out there. Aaron Rodgers probably just by default, because what are you going to do with him? You don't have anywhere to put him. And then after that, I don't know who's still going to be on here. Before we let you go, man, I want to ask you about what's your opinion on this thing with Anthony Richardson getting benched? Everybody's making a big deal out of it, and he got benched. He came off and said he was tired on the field, all this stuff. What you think about this whole deal?
I think he's being unfairly ostracized for I put myself out of the game because I was tired. He was just being honest. And but I think the reason why they made the change, okay, I can make an argument for both quarterbacks. This is Anthony Richardson's second year.
Yeah,
and he's only going to get better by playing on the field. So if you drafted this guy to be your franchise quarterback going forward, because he's under the rookie deal, so he's got a 5-year contract there. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So if you don't play him, you stunt his growth. Because I heard an interesting stat. At this point in Anthony Richardson's career, when Josh Allen was starting out, when they had played the same number of games, the numbers were very similar.
Yeah.
And we've seen what Josh Allen turned into.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson can be that, but he's never going to be that sitting on the sideline. Other side of the coin is they're in a playoff.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're in a hunt.
Yeah.
And they just can't have this, we want to win now.
Exactly.
And they have a Super Bowl champion when Joe Flacco, Joe Flacco's not gonna be there next year.
Yeah, no, not.
So let's just go ahead and try to save this season, and we'll just continue the Anthony Richardson project, I guess, in year 3, because they got 3 more seasons of this guy.
Yeah.
So I understand it, but I think saying that he got benched for the rest of the season because he came out because he was tired. No, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, they kind of gassed up that part a little bit, and they took it a little too far. But the main reason is that second point that you made, man. They're in the playoff hunt. Last year, that last Week 17 game against the Texans, they ended up moving it to Primetime TV because that was for the playoffs. Whoever won that game was going to the playoffs. So the Colts were not only in playoff contention last year, they're in it right now. And this year, they would have been in first place in this division if they beat the Texans on Sunday. And they probably would have beat the Texans if Joe Flacco would have played. So I definitely get that, because even though Anthony Richardson is a project as a quarterback, and like you said, it's too early in his career, he didn't play that much in college at all.
Yeah.
He didn't play that many games last year because he was hurt. And now we're only and he's missed time again this year in the short season that has been.
Yeah.
So it's too young in his career to be able to say, is this guy good or bad at football? But if you're Shane Steichen and the coaching staff, we got to put Flacco in there, because we're not going to be here to see if Anthony Richardson does become good. If we have a playoff caliber team the last 2 to 3 years and we keep falling under the part and not making it, especially when you see how weak the AFC is this year in comparison to last year, or potentially in the years moving forward. So I agree with you, man. I think they're playing Joe Flacco because they're trying to make the playoffs, and they're just trying to see if they can do it. Now, like you said, I think he was just being honest. I think most people probably would have just lied and said, I got an ankle sprain, or I got something. I've seen a bunch of people saying that. I should have just lied. But
and he's a young quarterback, so he hasn't really learned how to deal with the media.
Exactly.
You ask him a question, he's going to give you an answer, an honest answer. Yeah. He's got to stop doing that.
Yeah, you got to learn how to lie like the rest of your quarterback. Just watch a lot of film on Aaron Rodgers. He says a lot of stuff. I just seen him talking about something with cayenne pepper and water or serum that he's gonna take. I'm like, man, this dude is crazy.
Yeah, sometimes
man.
When they ask these questions, you gotta kind of do like Trump, just put that weave in there.
Just kind of throw a whole bunch of stuff out there and see if something sticks. But definitely, I'll be interested to see how this turns out with the Colts, obviously, because they're in the same division as my team and the Texans. And Texans versus Jets tonight. That game comes on in about an hour and 15 minutes. Say, I want to thank you for coming on here as always, man. Coming up here, talking some football, and obviously talking some La Vega football as well. Like we said, the pregame show starts tomorrow at 6:30. You definitely don't want to miss it. Said is going to give you guys all the keys to the game and what we can expect to see from this La Vega versus Conley game. Folks, we're going to take a break, come back at the top of the hour. When we come back, got to talk some NBA, and we'll talk some more about these NFL games for the rest of this Week 9. Stay tuned and stay locked in right here on Centex Primetime. We'll be right back after this.
It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Is your corporate or
installation?
Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your your student ID.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
It's the family feels for me. The banana pudding peach cobbler make you want to holler for me. It's the candy yams, mac and cheese, beef tips, pork tips and rice, collard greens. It's a sweet potato pie, sweetie. Fried chicken you've been missing, the lemon sweet tea dressing on Sundays when you all dressed up. Chest pie, buttermilk, and pound cake. Cornbread with butter just dripping, always fresh baked. If you need Southern style, soul food, home cooked meals that you can feel. Chicken and dumplings, chicken pot pie. 719 South 11th Street. Sassy's, come on by.
The East Waco Empowerment Project, along with City Center Waco, is hosting WeBo, Workshop and Business Opportunity, to help create more entrepreneurs. Business owners like Aniceto Charles of True Jamaica Restaurant and Carla Dotson of Boardwalk on Elm attended WeBo to develop their business ideas into successful Black-owned businesses right in the heart of East Waco. WeBo can also help you turn your side hustle or business idea into the next thriving Black-owned business in our community. If you would like to attend this 10-week intense entrepreneurial workshop, go to WeBoWaco.org. That's WIBO Waco.org. Space.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
It's time to get in the game.
Do you know what time it is?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis.
To me, you are nothing.
Your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Well, start it up. Let's go.
Catch us Monday through Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, here to take you through the primetime topics in sports, not only just in Central Texas, but from all around the nation. Want to say happy Halloween to everybody out there. Like I got a chance to say earlier in hour number one, hopefully you're taking your kids trick-or-treating tonight. If you are, leave that candy to them. Stay out of that candy, man. Y'all don't need no candy anyway. Y'all got real dentist bills and stuff now. Y'all leave the candy alone. You'll be all right. Let the kids enjoy their night. Like I said earlier, my son is trick-or-treating right now at one of the trunk-or-treats that MCC is providing, and I'm sure he's got a Spider-Man costume on, probably spraying people with webs, and he'll be jumping off the wall for the rest of the night while I try to watch this Texans game. So that should be interesting once we get done here today on the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with me today. As always, go over to the YouTube and subscribe, Centex Sports Network / Centex Sports TV. Go over there and hit that subscribe button. Also hit that bell so you can get notified every time that we go live right here, 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays. Also, you can download the app on your mobile device. Centex Sports One on your mobile device. You can download the app. Be able to listen from your cars, from your house, wherever you're at, on your way to work, leaving work, at school, wherever you're at, you'll be able to listen to this content 5 to 7 weekdays right here on Centex Prime Time. Well, folks, in hour number one, we just wrapped it up with Ced Eigelhart, the play-by-play man for La Vega football. Got to talk about that great game that's going to be tomorrow, La Vega versus Conley Cadets. La Vega right now sitting in first place in that District 12 4A Division II, playing some great football right now. They've got studs out there on both sides of the field, and so does this Conley team. Jamarian Vincent is one of the most highly recruited players in this Central Texas area, in this greater Waco area. He's been putting up over 100-plus yards rushing week in and week out at the quarterback spot. Also, the Braden Ford guy that's been out there as well. He's been playing great football all season long. So that's primed to be a top matchup. I've been a part of this matchup for probably the last 5 or 6 years. We've been covering Conley football, now doing La Vega football this year. And this rivalry is a great one. It's one of the better ones. I say probably the best inner city rivalry in the last decade. between Conley and LaVega. It's always been a rivalry, but this last decade has really kicked up. And because they both had great players. Both sides have had good players year in and year out. And I was there last year, and it wasn't even standing room in the stadium. The stands was full. The walkway was full. The gates had about 200 people hanging outside on the gates, man. So I mean, it was packed. It was packed last year. I'm expecting the same again this year out of the matchup between these two teams. That game will start at 7:00 right here on Centex Sports Network, on Infinity Sports Radio Central Texas, and on 94.5 FM. You can get on the dial if you're in your cars and you're going somewhere and you don't want to try to have to tune in from your phone. You can just listen right there on the dial, 94.5 FM. And LaVega pregame will start at 6:30. Roy and Seb will have that one, and they'll be holding it down, getting us ready for the game, giving us all the keys to the game, and then they'll lead you into that game at 7:00. So, folks, like we said earlier, we got a chance to talk about some LaVega football. We talked about some college football as well. Want to talk a little bit about the NBA season that has just started so far. A lot of storylines already in this season that we've seen. We've talked a little bit about it so far this week, man. The Celtics looking good. They took their first loss last night against the Indiana Pacers team that's trying to get back on track. But I see Boston being the number one team for the majority of the season. But one of the teams that been playing good basketball the last couple of years and starting out good right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They took on the Lakers last night, and they were in control of that game from start to finish. It didn't look like a problem whatsoever for them. This Cavaliers team, like I said, has been good for the last couple of years. They battled injuries every year, it seems like, in the playoffs, especially last year. Losing Donovan Mitchell kind of took them completely out of the playoff race last year against that Celtics team. But this year, it looks like they're coming in focused. Donovan Mitchell's leading this team. Evan Mobley is emerging even more as a player. And I think this team is going to go as far as Evan Mobley takes them. I think we know what we're going to get from Donovan Mitchell. And I honestly don't know what they're going to get from Darius Garland. Darius Garland is so up and down. I wouldn't be mad if they traded Darius Garland. I know they drafted him, and he kind of started this resurgence since the post LeBron era. I wouldn't be mad at the Cavs for trading Darius Garland, though, man. He's just a hit-or-miss guy. He's a hit-or-miss guy sometimes, especially in the playoffs. He can't guard like that. And if his shot's not falling, even though he is a good shot maker, when the shot's not falling, man, I mean, he's just not he's not up to par as what you need for a championship caliber team. But this Cavaliers team is good. This Cavs team is good. I like what they've been able to do with Mobley and Allen holding down their front court, and then Garland and Mitchell holding down their back court. Now, this Lakers team, the Lakers started out 3-0. Everybody's praising J.J. Redick. Now they dropped their last two games in a row, but I don't think that's a big deal. Obviously, it's super early in the season. And they lost a close one to Phoenix, and Cleveland is probably just a better team than them at this point, and especially more put together. This Lakers team is trying to find their identity when they're playing together. Anthony Davis has to be the focal point of this offense. It's got to be the focal point of this offense. Last night against the Cavs, he was trying to be that, just didn't have the best shooting night, but still went out there and got you 13 boards, go along with a couple steals and 22 points. I just don't – right now they need more punch off their bench. And I think Dalton Connect is going to be that punch off the bench. He had 18 points last night off the bench, and that was good. I think they got to trade D'Lo, man. Austin Reeves is playing good, even though last night he didn't play good. We know what he can bring to this team, and we've seen him step up in big moments. A person we've seen shrink in big moments too often is D'Angelo Russell. I think they got to trade Russell. If they could trade Russell and maybe get a 3-and-D guy in there on defense, or maybe just pick up somebody that can get you some more firepower off the bench and maybe move a Gabe Vincent into that starting lineup. And if he can be a 3-and-D type of guy out there for the Lakers, that would be good. But if not, you got to trade D'Lo, man. You got to trade D'Lo. I think he's the oddball out right here. Let Reeves move to that guard spot, to that main guard spot. LeBron is going to handle the ball most of the time anyway. So let Reeves move to that main ball spot. And they need somebody that can defend. The Lakers need somebody that can defend. Everybody keeps talking about when Vando gets back. I'm like Anthony Edwards. You ain't played in 2 years. You've been hurt for 2 years, bro. We don't need to hear no more when Vando comes back. And then what is Vando going to play when he comes back? He can't shoot. You going to put him at the 2? They need perimeter defense is what the Lakers need. Perimeter defense. LeBron can't do that for you anymore. He's 40. Is he still one of the best players in the world? Of course. But he's 40 years old. He's not going to be your best defender night in and night out. Is that going to be Bronny? No. Bronny's not ready for that role yet. We've seen him score his first points as a pro last game when he got in garbage time against the Cavaliers. But they need somebody. They need a wing defender / guard defender that can go in that 2 spot or the 1 spot for the Lakers. And to do that, I think you got to trade D'Angelo Russell. I don't think the answer to that is Cam Reddish, who got some minutes last night. I don't think he's the answer for that. They've been playing Max Christie more minutes. I don't think he's the answer for that because I'm not sold on his ceiling as a defender. At least I think he can be a decent role player. You bring Vincent, Christie, Connect, and Jackson Hayes off the bench. That's not too bad of a bench. It's not terrible. Could it be better? For sure. But it's not terrible. What they need is a wing defender / guard defender to get into that spot that can also shoot threes. You know you need space, and you've already got AD out there who is shooting more threes this year already. But you got AD out there and you got LeBron out there. So you need spacing. Rui, we know, can shoot. Reeves can shoot. You need another guy in that spot. Rui's not the best defender. So you need somebody else in that spot that can step up and be a shooter and a defender for the Lakers. But I like the Lakers, man. I like what they're doing so far. I like Redick as a coach. You know, everybody has so much to say about him being a head coach. Like I've been saying for this whole week, dude played 15 years in the league, man. How much experience you need to be out there? Darvin Ham had a whole bunch of experience on the bench. Now look at him and Doc Rivers dragging the Bucks down. The Milwaukee Bucks got to be in panic mode. That's where I'm going next, folks. The Milwaukee Bucks got to be in panic mode. It's time to figure something out. You're not only about to waste the prime of Giannis, not completely wasted because, yeah, you got a ring out of this, but you've got Giannis and you made the trade for Dame. You got rid of Drew Holiday. Drew goes and win a championship. Dame has been playing decent basketball, but this team, it stinks. This roster stinks. Outside of Dame and Giannis, this roster stinks. Brook Lopez is old. He's old. He can't be your third best player. Taurean Prince, shout out TP, man, a Baylor alumni. But you need more firepower. If he's going to be in your starting lineup as a 3-and-D guy, I'm not even mad at that. But this team needs more firepower. Like, who is constructing this roster? I understand that they're constricted because Middleton's got a max, Dame's got a super max, Giannis got a super max, and y'all gave Brook Lopez a lot of money. So some pieces got to move around. If not, you're going to lose Giannis. The Milwaukee Bucks lose Giannis, you're going to be sorry for the next 20 years. You're not going to be good. You're not getting any free agents in Milwaukee. You have to be able to win with the guys you draft. We've seen that before when they had Ray Allen, and after Ray Allen it was Michael Redd and Brandon Jennings, but you got to win with the dogs you got, with the dogs that you draft. Because nobody's coming to Milwaukee. Nobody's going to pick Milwaukee as a free agent destination. So if you lose Giannis, who knows how long you're going to be sorry. You better ask the Hornets. They ain't never been good in my life. And Charlotte is a better city than Milwaukee, in my opinion. And they ain't never been good. So what do you think Milwaukee's going to turn into? So you got to do everything you can to keep Giannis happy, and they're already flirting with the idea of Giannis getting up out of here. You got to find some way to get some production out of this roster this year. Chris Middleton keeps getting hurt. You got to move him. And yes, he won you playoff games last year. He helped you win a championship. He was a closer on the championship squad. That's nice. That's fine, and that's dandy. That was 3-4 years ago. You got to move on Chris Middleton. If Dame and Giannis are going to be the leaders, you got to build a team around Dame and Giannis. Right now, this team isn't built around Dame and Giannis. It's kind of just players out there. Get Gary Trent, doesn't play defense. You lost almost all defensive credibility once you lost Drew Holiday. I'm starting to see that this team maybe wasn't that great on defense. Maybe it was just Drew Holiday being an amazing defender. Because Giannis' defensive rating dropped. Brook Lopez' defensive rating dropped tremendously last year. And Dame has never been a defender. He's out there to score buckets, and that's cool. Who's guarding people on this team on the perimeter without Chris Middleton, without Drew Holiday? You going to stick Gary Trent on the best player? Yeah, obviously, that's not working. Bobby Portis is a good player off the bench, but the second highest minutes guy off the bench is Pat Connaughton. What are we doing? What are y'all trying to do? Then you're at a disadvantage because you got Doc Rivers, who hasn't been a good coach like that, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I think Doc Rivers is a basketball legend, NBA career, to coach what he was able to do with the Celtics. But since then, underachieving. The Clippers, underachieved. That was one of the better teams in the last decade, honestly. The Clippers team, Lob City, Chris Paul. They messed up Chris Paul getting the ring. One of my favorite point guards of all time. I think he's better than John Stockton and a lot of these point guards y'all put in front of him. Didn't win with that team. You go and then where you go after that? Philly. Underachieve in Philly. You have Joel Embiid. You end up getting fired from there. You come as a consultant to Milwaukee and somehow end up taking the job from Adrian Griffin, even though he had a better record than what you were able to do afterwards. So when you got him on the bench with this bad roster, and then the assistant coach is Mr. Salute, the guy that just said this in an NBA huddle when you're supposed to be drawing up plays, like Kyrell said a couple of days ago, sounds like when they got to ask one of the dads to coach the Little League soccer team because the coach couldn't be there. That's what it sounded like, man. Y'all got both of them on the bench to go along with this bad roster. It's trouble in Milwaukee right now, and they're going to end up losing Giannis if they keep playing the way that they're playing. More people are going to get fired, and Giannis is going to leave, and Milwaukee's going to be garbage. They're going to turn into Detroit, just keeping it a buck. That's what they're going to look like. They're going to look like the Brooklyn Nets. Just keeping it a buck. That's what it looks like. Another team that's right there on the edge of hitting that panic button, the Denver Nuggets. You lose KCP. Jokic is getting older. He's been getting by with the, he's not in shape, but he's in enough shape to, hey man, you're getting older. It's not going to keep working. I don't know what's going on with Jamal Murray. He's always been like a fringe all-star, but last night I guess he has a decent game as they beat the Nets in overtime. Took y'all overtime to beat them. And then this is y'all overtime stats. You still only had 24 points? Got to get more production out of Jamal Murray. Christian Brown, I think he's been a good piece for them off the bench the last few years, but is he going to be enough? I'm not a Russell Westbrook hater like Kyrell, who's on the show with me. He thinks Russell's trash, but we know Russell's going to be up and down. He's going to give you good games like he did in this last game, 22 points and 5 assists. He's going to give you games like he did a couple days before that where he's 0 for 8. At this point in his career, are you banking on him to save you? Michael Porter Jr. never took that next step. He looks good against the Lakers every year in the playoffs. Doesn't look good against anybody else. You already paid him a max. And he's going to give you what? 16 points? 15 points? 14 points? Think they're depending too much on Jokic, and Jokic is getting older. Now, they won in overtime last night by 5 points, but that took Jokic going out there getting 29, 18 boards, and 16 assists. So he's got to do that every night for you to be able to get a win. We all know that's not a recipe for being able to get any wins. So something's got to shake. Something's got to change up for this Nuggets team, or they're going to find themselves trading people, getting rid of the core, which it might be time to do. It might be time to revamp some of this core, man. I think they struck gold and got a championship out of it. But as Kyrell likes to point out on here often, they beat a bunch of teams that were barely over 500 on their way to the championship run. So now you're not necessarily getting better. You lose your best shooter probably outside of Michael Porter Jr. and KCP, and one of the veteran pieces and rocks of this team. He goes and gets a bag from the Magic. And they go out there and they replace him with Christian Brown and Try to put him in the starting lineup. Haven't worked out so far. So it's obviously early. So they don't really have to hit the panic button. Now the Bucks have to hit the panic button. The Nuggets, they don't have to, but they definitely need to start looking around and seeing what's going on. Folks, the Utah Jazz are the only team in the NBA without a win. Sitting at 0-4. I see what's going on here. I see your game, Utah. I recognize your game and what's going on. They want Cooper Flag bad. Now, I don't even have to say it. Y'all understand why a team like the Utah Jazz, Utah, would want a nice Duke kid from Maine like Cooper Flag. Y'all see the puzzle pieces there. Y'all get it. They want Flag. Now they tanking bad. They tanking bad. Now, yeah, they played 4 teams that are probably potential playoff teams. They go out here and lose against the San Antonio tonight. Yeah, they tanking. They tanking. Because they're not even that bad. Utah was in the playoff run majority of last season. It's the same guys. Good players. Marketing's a good player. Your only team left that hasn't got a win. You let the Pistons get a win before you got a win? I see your game. It's a lot of teams that can use Jordan Clarkson, man. Y'all go ahead and trade him off the team. So it's a lot of teams that can use this help. I just talked about how the Spurs need somebody like Jordan Clarkson. Somebody can just come right off the bench and just go get a bucket. But marketing, and then they draft Cody Williams in the draft. I was kind of like, even though this draft wasn't the best draft in the world, just seeing the number 1 pick saying, I was a lot more athletic in France. Well, duh. It's France. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know who let him say that out loud. I was the most athletic guy out there in France. Well, I bet. It's France. This is America. This is where the NBA is. I don't know why they let him say that, but this draft wasn't just the best draft in the world. And they go out there and draft a Cody Williams kid. Looks like a decent prospect, but I don't know what the Jazz are doing. Well, I do know what the Jazz are doing. They're tanking. They're trying to get Cooper Flag. Like I said, I see your game. I recognize your game. I know what's going on here. Cooper Flag, they'll put a statue out there of him. Game 1. He don't even got to do much. Game 1, they'll go out there and put a statue out of him. So, yeah, shout out Scala Bizier. I just seen him in the box score for the Sacramento Kings as they won against the Jazz yesterday. I haven't seen him on any roster in years. He was a first-round pick out of Kentucky. But, yeah, the Jazz, they're tanking, y'all. The Jazz are tanking. Draymond Green said on his on his podcast, he said that everybody was talking about Chet and Wemby for Defensive Player of the Year. Don't forget about Dre. Yeah, we forgot about you, Dre. I ain't gonna lie. We forgot. Now, Draymond Green is playing good. Last night, they got a win. Now, this Warriors team is surprising. Obviously, it's early here in the year. They're surprising me already. They started off the season 4-1. Now, I wasn't super mad when they got rid of Curry and brought in Buddy Hield. They're going to do the same thing. I mean, not Curry. When they got rid of Thompson and brought in Buddy Hield, they're going to do the same thing. Klay Thompson is obviously past his prime. And Buddy Hield, as he's proven, can go out there and get the same amount of buckets that Klay was going to get. They got a good win last night over a New Orleans Pelicans team that was pretty beat up. But they're playing without Steph. And they won that game handily. And a lot of thanks to Draymond Green, who played good defense on Zion the whole game and chipped in with 14 points and 5 blocks to go along with 6 assists and 4 steals. We know Draymond Green can play defense. Will he win the Defensive Player of the Year over Wemby? I think that's probably Wemby's award. Now, they're going to have to win some more games. But I think this is probably Wemby's award for the next few years. I'm tired of seeing Rudy Gobert get it. I mean, you can't keep winning Defensive Player of the Year and you get cooked in the playoffs year in and year out. But, yeah, Draymond said we got to put him in that discussion for Defensive Player of the Year. Will he be in that discussion for Defensive Player of the Year? Probably not. But it's Draymond. Y'all know he's going to say some stuff. I just seen him say on this podcast as well how he doesn't like how OKC all does the team interviews after when they all huddle around each other and do the barking and stuff all in the mic. And he said teams got to fear you and y'all are acting too silly out there. Hey, man, I know y'all better fear OKC. Draymond. I understand that's your thing and you're supposed to say this, but I'm not just a huge fan of these player podcasts while playing because of reasons like this. Like, you don't have to speak on teams that you're going to end up having to play anyway. If you're just talking about your team and your experiences, cool, but you don't have to come out here and comment on, okay, see, that's just what they want to do. They're a bunch of young kids. They're different. But you're 30-something. I'm almost 30. I'm different than these 20 and 21-year-olds. That's what they want to do. That's what they're going to do. And you better fear OKC. You're talking about no one's going to fear you if you're doing all that. The Warriors should fear them. Because who you going to stick out there on Shea? Steph? Come on, man. 30-piece loading. You can't guard Chet. Talking about you should be the defensive player of the year over Chet. I don't think you're going to guard Chet. Even though he is skinny, you're going to push him around and foul him. And if that don't work, you're probably going to steal off. But you better fear OKC while you say teams got to fear them. So, I mean, I'm not a fan of OKC doing the interview thing after either, but that's their thing. If that's your thing, then rock out and do your thing. As long as they winning games, it don't matter. And OKC is looking like a real title contender this year. OKC is going to be one of my more favorite teams to watch this year. They won the West last year. I think they're going to win the West this year. The only undefeated team left in the West, obviously it's only 4 games into the season. They're the only undefeated team left in the West. I like this OKC team, man. I like what Shea brings to the table. I think they got better by adding Caruso. Once they get Hardenstein in there, they're going to be even better. So shout out to OKC, man. Don't let Draymond try to intimidate you from doing your team interviews, whatever it is that you're doing. Folks, we're going to take our last break of the show. When we come back, I want to talk about and preview these Week 9 games for the season. I'll talk about this Texans versus Jets game. And we'll talk about what is going on with these young QBs in the league. Also, I got to give my leaders right now in the MVP race and who I think is leading the MVP race. Stay tuned and stay locked in right here on Centex Primetime. We'll be right back after this short break.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
It's the family feels for me. The banana pudding peach cobbler make you want to holler for me. It's the candy yams, mac and cheese, beef tips, pork tips and rice, collard greens. It's the sweet potato pie, sweetie. Fried chicken you've been missing, the lemon sweet tea dressing on Sundays when you all dressed up. Chest pie, buttermilk, and pound cake. Cornbread with butter just dripping, always fresh baked. If you need Southern style, soul food, home cooked meals that you can feel. Chicken and dumplings, chicken pot pie. 719 South 11th Street. Sassy's, come on by.
The East Waco Empowerment Project, along with City Center Waco, is hosting WeBo, Workshop and Business Opportunity, to help create more entrepreneurs. Business owners like Aniceto Charles of True Jamaica Restaurant and Carla Dotson of Boardwalk on Elm attended WeBo to develop their business ideas into successful Black-owned businesses right in the heart of East Waco. WeBo can also help you turn your side hustle or business idea into the next thriving Black-owned business in our community. If you would like to attend this 10-week intense entrepreneurial workshop, go to WeBoWaco.org. That's WIBO Waco.org. Space.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. This is live from the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports Studios.
That's right, sports fans.
About to show these boys how we do it. You ready?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis, your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Primetime. Final hour here. Final 30 minutes home stretch of the show as we get ready to talk about some NFL football. We've already talked about some college football, some high school football as well. And just got done talking some NBA just a second ago. NFL's going into week 9 now of the season. And the Jets and Texans are kicking that off in about 45 minutes, actually. And we'll see what my Texans can do. As I've said many times on this show before, I'm a Texans fan, but I try to be objective week in and week out, man. And right now, we're beat up. It's just that simple. We lost Nico Collins. He's on IR still. We lost Dameon Pierce, who gave us a little spark here and there. Now Stephon Diggs tore his ACL. Jimmy Ward still inactive. Azeez Al-Shahir still inactive right now. So we're just beat up. We're battling injuries. The offensive line's playing horrible. But still sitting at 6-2. A lot of optimism. We still got C.J. Stroud. We still got Joe Mixon, and we still got this defense out there as well. Will Anderson starting to become one of the better defenders in the entire National Football League with how he's been playing this entire season. One of the leaders in sacks this season, sitting at the number tied for 3 right now with Aiden Hutchinson, actually, who's been out for, that shows you how good Aiden Hutchinson was playing. Aiden Hutchinson's been out for like 3 or 4 weeks, and he's still tied for 3rd right now as far as the leaders in sacks. But this defense is going to have to step up. The offense, I got faith in Stroud, obviously. I think he'll still be able to go out there and be successful. But defense is going to have to step up. Before we preview this game and some more of these games in the weekend, I want to talk about my leaders in the MVP race. I think Lamar Jackson is still sitting right up there at the top, even after this loss. I don't think this loss is necessarily on him. Now, what's going to hurt him in MVP and could potentially hurt his stats is he's battling injuries. He's battling injuries. It's a long season. He's battling injuries right now. It's questionable for this game against the Broncos. I think he'll play in it, but he's not practicing right now after sustained some back and knee issues in that last loss against the Browns. I still think he's right up there, and right there with him is his teammate Derrick Henry. Lamar's thrown for 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 2 picks. Derrick Henry is leading in yardage by a lot as far as leading rushers in the NFL, leading by over 100 yards. 946 yards so far on the season. So he's playing great football. He's right up there in the MVP conversation. I think if Lamar gets hurt and ends up playing a little bit worse or play goes down a little bit, I think the 2 front runners got to be Jared Goff and Josh Allen. Both playing great football. Jared Goff just won a game where they blew Tennessee out completely where he didn't even throw for 100 yards. This Lions team is great, and that's why I think we'll end up taking Jared Goff a little bit out of the MVP conversation, because that rushing attack is so great for them. But he's playing great football. He's playing phenomenal football. 74% on completion percentage, 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns right now for Jared Goff. He's just playing good football. Last week was what I was talking about. They went 12 for 15, only 85 yards, still managed to throw 3 touchdowns. Week before that in the win against Minnesota, 22 for 25, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. The week before that, 18 for 25, 315 yards. They blew out Dallas. 3 touchdowns, no picks. Week before that, 18 for 18, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jared Goff is playing phenomenal football. He's got their team looking like one of the best in the league, and I just hate that Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, because I'm telling y'all, I would have picked this team as my Super Bowl team right now with how good Detroit Lions are playing. They play the right style of football. I haven't seen them go out and make any moves as far as trying to get a pass rusher. I wish they would have went and got a Zadarius Smith out of Cleveland. Wayne Walker said yesterday they should go and get a Jadeveon Clowney, somebody like that, to bring in here. Just a couple of pass rushers that have some experience that you can bring out on this team, because you cannot let a roster like this go to waste because you're missing your best player on the entire team in Aiden Hutchinson, who was turning into one of the best defenders in the league. And then Josh Allen. Josh Allen has this Buffalo Bills team sitting at 6-2. They're playing phenomenal football. He's playing phenomenal football right now. And them getting Amari Cooper just unlocks this team even further. And Josh Allen is the head of the snake when it comes to that. He's playing great so far this year. 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns right now. No picks. He's playing great football. Or 1 pick now. He just threw his first pick last week against Seattle. So he's playing great football. 14 touchdowns, 1 pick, 1,700 yards, 64% on completion percentage. He's playing great football. So Josh Allen is right there in the mix as far as that MVP conversation goes, and it's really going to go between those guys. The guys that I just named in there: Josh Allen, Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. Those are my picks right now. I've seen people throwing Jaden Daniels in that conversation. I don't think Daniels is going to end the season with enough to be able to be in that MVP conversation, but Offensive Rookie of the Year, for sure. For sure. I think he'll get that nod over Caleb Williams, even though Caleb Williams had some good games too. But Jaden Daniels, even in that game they just played against each other, Jaden Daniels has played better this year. So those are my people I have leading right now in those MVP talks for this part of the season. I want to look at some of these games, like I said, in Week 9. Before we do that, I want to talk about the young quarterback play right now in the league. We've seen a lot of talk going around with Anthony Richardson getting benched. And like I just said a minute ago, was said on here, he got benched because the Colts have a chance to win. You got a guy out there going 2 for 15 in the first half, and what Anthony Richardson did. The week before that, he was 3 for 14 in the first half. He played a game a couple of weeks ago where he didn't complete a pass in the first quarter. He's playing terrible football, and that's what happens when you take a guy that's young, that had no college experience, didn't play that great when he was in college. You take him and throw him in the NFL and say you're going to start Week 1. That's ridiculous to me. I'm just looking at these guys that sat and how good they're playing. Look at how good Jordan Love has been playing. He sat for years behind Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers sat for years behind Brett Favre. Even Jalen Hurts sat when he first came into the league. Guys that sit down and wait their chance to come in the league, in my opinion, have a better chance of success once they come into the league. We've seen how Sam Darnold struggled early on, and now look how good of football Sam Darnold is playing. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year behind Alex Smith. There's nothing wrong with sitting these guys for a year. Now we're looking at the young QB play in the league on these last couple first-round picks, and they're just not playing good football. It's just that simple. Shout out Drake May. He's playing decent. He's coming in this year. Even he sat a few games. Looked at how Justin Fields looked in Chicago and then how he looked in Pittsburgh in a new system. Anthony Richardson, I mean, he got benched for a reason. It's not for the tap and saying he was tired and all that. All he did was just tell the truth too much on that. He didn't have to tell him he was tired. He could have just lied like the rest of these quarterbacks do. But he ended up telling the truth and said he was tired. And that's unacceptable. You can't come out the game because you're tired if you're a quarterback. But that's not the reason he got benched. He got benched because he's playing like the worst quarterback in the league outside of Deshaun Watson, who's now hurt, so he's not playing the rest of the season. Joe Flacco gives them a chance to win. But these other young quarterbacks in the league, Trevor Lawrence is not playing good football. Now, I'm not a guy that's big on Trevor Lawrence is just sorry. Seen a lot of people saying that, Jags are 2-6, man. Trevor Lawrence is a bust. I don't think he's a bust. I just don't know what's going on with Jacksonville. I'm not sold on the coach. A lot of this is coaching, man. Mike Tomlin already told y'all a lot of this is coaching. He said guys are scared to go out there and coach, and they like to blame flaws on a lot of the players. Well, you're there to coach to fix flaws. And if Mike Tomlin is saying that, nobody's had weaker teams than he's had with better records. He's had some pretty weak teams and still found a way to have winning seasons. So he's got to be saying something. You stay in that division in the AFC South. Look at Tennessee. Will Levis now benched after he was drafted as a top quarterback last year. Now they benched him because he was playing horrible football. That whole draft class, man, outside of CJ Stroud, it's not looking too hot. It's not looking too hot. Will Levis, benched. Bryce Young, benched. Anthony Richardson, benched. That draft class, like I said, outside of Stroud, it ain't looking too hot right now. A lot of those guys were thrown out there early and just expected to get production. The Panthers one makes no sense because the whole team was bad. Andy Dalton came in and won a game, and then y'all was ready to say, "Oh yeah, we told you it was Bryce Young." And how long did that last? We just seen Andy Dalton last week start the game off with a pick six. His first pass that he threw was a pick six. Like, what are you doing? So the young QB play is very questionable right now in the league, but hopefully this QB class coming in will be a decent one. I think Quinn Ewers will be in that, even though he's struggling. Shador obviously will be in that. Cam Ward will be in that. Carson Beck will probably be in that. Hopefully they find a guy in there because there's definitely plenty of spots with how bad these young QBs are playing. Some of these young QBs. I ain't going to say all of them because Jaden Daniels playing good football. Caleb Williams is playing decent football. So I ain't going to say all of them. A lot of these young QBs are struggling right now. Seeing the shelf life on these QBs as far as a starter and their potential starting to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So that's something I wanted to point out, man. I just want to keep my eye on that. And shout out Anthony Richardson. Hopefully he does. This sitting down will help him because he was just not seeing the field at all, honestly. He couldn't even get a Hail Mary pass off in the last game against the Texans. He got sacked on a Hail Mary. Like, you know you have one job, and it's to just throw the ball in the air. You didn't even let the ball go. His confidence is completely shot, and he probably just needs to sit down from the bench for a little while and just try to get his feet back under him and see how Joe Flacco sees the game. Maybe that'll help him a little bit. But I want to go through some of these games for Sunday. Obviously, tonight, we got the Texans and the Jets. In this game, the Jets are favored. I'm telling you, take those points from the Texans, man. I still got the Texans in this game. Yeah, we're struggling, but the Jets are struggling more than anybody's struggling. They lost 5 in a row. I can't pick the Jets this week. Even though I could definitely see the Jets winning this game, I can't pick them this week, not against my team. And it's not just because it's my team, even though y'all probably say that's why it is. But I don't see the Jets pulling this game out. It's just too much mess. Too much mess going on. But do they have a chance to win this? Vegas thinks they do. They're favored in this game, and that's probably for a reason. So I wouldn't be shocked if it came out in this with the win. If I had to take anything, I'd take the over, because if it is going to be a win for the Jets, it's definitely going to have to be over 43.5 points, because the Texans are going to put up some points. We're going to put up at least 20. So that means that the Jets have to put up at least 24, 27 to be able to beat us in this game. That game's coming on in about 30 minutes. I want to look at some of these other games. A good matchup. Sneaky good matchup. Baltimore and the Broncos. Teams with the same record. Baltimore sitting at 5-3, even though we think they're better than that record. Denver sitting at 5-3, and we thought they'd be worse than that record. They're playing in Baltimore, but Denver's 3-1 on the road so far this year. Baltimore is an 8-point favorite. I think 8 points is a little steep, but I definitely think Baltimore is going to win this game. I got Baltimore pulling this one off, and as always, I'm going to try to keep up with some of these picks, write some of these picks down, so I can keep track of myself and how I'm helping y'all out. Like I said, don't go and bet your mortgage on these picks. This is just for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes only. And I like Denver. Not Denver. I like Baltimore on the money line on this one, just because right now their spread is 9 points. I think that's pretty steep, man. That's pretty steep. 9 points. It's NFL. Anything can happen. You never know what's going to happen. The Dolphins and the Bills. We've seen Tua come back. Offense obviously looked a lot better. They still lost to the Cardinals, even though the Cardinals are proven to be decent. This game against the Bills are a 6-point favorite in this one. I'll take the 6 points in that game. They beat them down with Tua. Last game that Tua played in, outside of that game against the Cardinals, was against the Bills. And that was in Miami, and the Bills were beating them down. I think they'll do the same this weekend as they're playing in Buffalo this time. Josh Allen, like I said earlier, playing great football. 14 touchdowns, 1 pick, almost 1,800 yards. James Cook playing good football. Keon Coleman is playing better football since Amari Cooper got there. And that's exactly why they went and got a guy like that. Amari Cooper, a veteran that can kind of unlock their young receiver a little bit more and not only show him the ropes, but just take that pressure off of him of being a number one. Y'all brought him in as a rookie, expecting him to be a number one. He was already kind of a project type of guy, but he's been playing better football. So I like Buffalo in that game as well. Super fun game on Sunday. The Cowboys versus the Atlanta Falcons. So the Cowboys lose the game last week to the 49ers. Is that a surprise? No. They always lose to the 49ers. Are the Cowboys playing good football right now? No. But I think the Cowboys have a chance to win this game. I've never been sold on the Falcons, even though the Falcons are playing decent. They're 5-3. Kirk Cousins just led them to a good win last weekend. But I'm not completely sold on this team. They beat the Buccaneers. But the Buccaneers are very, very shorthanded. I think if Dallas has any hopes of trying to resurrect their season, this is one of those games you got to go out there and sneaky get a win. I like Dallas in this game. Now, Atlanta definitely could win this game, and it's at home. There's a reason why they're favored in this one. But I just think Dallas is going to have to play desperate. And if there's any game that you're going to win, you got to try to start it right here and get a win against the Falcons team that isn't just the most stout team in the world. Their defense has been vulnerable multiple times this year. We just seen it last week against the Buccaneers with no receivers. Mike Evans was hurt and Chris Godwin was hurt. So I wouldn't be mad at you picking the Cowboys in this one. But the Cowboys, they just got to find some type of running game. If they can find any type of running game like they did in that Pittsburgh game when they got to win over a good team. You got to try to do that same thing right here against Atlanta, and I think the Cowboys can do it, man. I don't put a lot of faith in the Cowboys, but I think this is one of those games they might go out there and win. They're getting talked about week in and week out about how terrible they are. Eventually, some type of pride has got to kick in, and I think it can kick in this week. Maybe they can force a turnover or two out of Kirk Cousins. If they do that, and Dak cannot turn the ball over every 5 seconds, I think the Cowboys can come out with a win in this game. And that game is at 12 o'clock. You'll be able to listen to it right here on 94.5 FM. We are the flagship station for the Dallas Cowboys here in the Central Texas area. Another good game this weekend, probably one of the better games of the entire week, is the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. This is the best game of the weekend, by the way. Best game of the weekend. Detroit and Green Bay. This game is in Green Bay. Detroit, I'm not going to say got lucky, but they got lucky because this game could have been in December and it would have been 1 degree outside in Green Bay like it always is in December and January. So they got lucky. They got the draw this time where they play them early in the year at Green Bay. Won't be too cold. Jared Goff's playing phenomenal football. Green Bay's a little bit banged up. Josh Jacobs still banged up a little bit. Jordan Love still a little bit banged up. Jair Alexander still a little bit banged up. Will they play in this game? Probably. I got Detroit, though. Detroit's playing great football. They're just rolling. They're steamrolling over teams right now. I don't think Green Bay is going to be able to stop this rush against Detroit. They couldn't stop the rush against they couldn't stop the rushing game of Houston when they got that win a couple weeks ago. I definitely don't think they'll stop this game. And Jahmyr Gibbs is emerging as one of the top backs in the NFL. He's been a good player last year in his first year in the league. He's starting to emerge as, in my opinion, a top 5 back in the league. Jahmyr Gibbs has it all. He's got speed. He's got moves. He can catch out of the backfield. He's a dual threat. Jahmyr Gibbs is starting to emerge as, in my opinion, one of the top 5 backs in the National Football League. And Detroit is rolling. I got them winning this one. I got Detroit winning this game as well. Even though they're on the road and they're playing their conference rival, this is still going to be the best game of the week, though. I'm actually excited to be able to watch this game. Hopefully they put this one on TV. We always end up getting random games out here on cable, but hopefully they put this one on TV. I think Detroit's still going to come out with the win in that game. The Sunday night football game, Indianapolis Colts taking on Minnesota. This is a game where Minnesota gets it back on track. Yeah, the Colts are going to be starting Joe Flacco, and is that going to open up the offense some more? For sure. It definitely is. Joe Flacco definitely knows how to read defense better than Anthony Richardson, which that isn't saying a lot, but he definitely knows how to do that. But after Minnesota drops 2 games in a row, they lose to Detroit in a close one, and then they lose to a Rams team that they honestly should have beat. Rams played a better game than them that night, though. Minnesota's a better team. Rams just played better than them that night. I think this is the time that Minnesota gets back on track. Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, all these guys, I think they get it together. And this is the game they go out here and play. Now, it's going to hurt them going forward that they're going to be missing Christian Darrisaw. I think he was a huge, huge piece to their team. Huge piece of their team moving forward. And I think him being out is going to mean a lot to this team. But this is a week you go out there and get a win. It's on national television. You've been playing great football all year and haven't got many national televised games. You get your first one last week and you lose. I think Kevin O'Connell and the guys, they come back out this week and they try to go out there and get a dub against the Indianapolis Colts. And I think that they do just that. Right now, they're 5.5-point favorite. That's not too bad of a number. I'll take the points. I'll take the points. Give me Minnesota 5.5 on that game as well. Looking at this Monday night game, Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, this would have been the best game of the week, in my opinion, if Tampa Bay was fully healthy. But with Tampa Bay being beat up so much at the receiver position, them losing their 2 main dogs out there, and Chris Godwin gone for the year probably. Mike Evans going to miss time with that hamstring injury he sustained. I mean, what do you expect? I'm going Chiefs. Now, 8.5 points is a lot of points. So for that, I'm going money line on the Chiefs. I don't want to, you're not going to win huge money off of that one, but it's a safe play. You don't want them to mess up your parlay because Tampa Bay ends up losing by just a field goal or something like that. So, and we've seen Kansas City play close games all year long. So you don't want to let your pride get in the way of that game and let you mess up your parlay. So I like the Chiefs money line in that one. The Los Angeles Rams taking on the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Man, I just don't like the way Seattle's been playing the last few weeks, man. They've lost 4 out of their last 5 games. Now, they did get a big win against Atlanta, and that's why I picked the Cowboys to beat. I picked the Cowboys to beat Atlanta this weekend because Atlanta's defense is vulnerable. But then they go out there and get dominated by the Bills. Don't like the way the Seahawks have been playing. I think they have a better roster right now than the Rams, but with the Rams getting Puka Nacua back and them getting Cooper Kupp back and Kyron Williams still out there toting the rock and Matthew Stafford always one of the better quarterbacks in the league, I like the Rams in this. I'll take the Rams. The Rams are favored in this -1. Obviously, I'll take them in the points. It's just 1 point. It's not much more wiggle room you can get than that. So I'll take the Rams in this game. I think it'll be a close one, but I like the way the Rams are playing with Cooper Kupp back, and I don't like the way Seattle's playing. I mean, it's just really that simple. There's a couple other games going on as well. I'll go through some of those quick. Los Angeles and Cleveland. I like the Chargers winning that game over Cleveland, even though Cleveland did get that win over the Baltimore Ravens, who are one of the better teams in the league. I like the way that the Chargers play. They control the ball. Justin Fields tries to limit turnovers. 8 touchdowns to only 1 pick this year. I think that's great for him because he's a guy that can make some iffy throws out there. He's got a big arm and is a good quarterback. But they're limiting how much he's throwing the ball, which is a good thing for him. You're running the ball more. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, all those guys out there. I like what the Chargers are building. I like them as a wild card team, too, moving forward in this. New Orleans and the Panthers, I'm just going to stay away from that game, y'all. I ain't even going to lie. I'm just going to go to the next one. I don't even want to try to pick between that two. Those are two dumpster fires in New Orleans and the Panthers. Washington and New York, obviously, I like Washington in this one. I like Washington. The Giants are just the Giants. Don't need much of a reason in that one. I like Washington. They're -4 right now. I'll say give me the points in that one. I think that's a fair spread on that game. New England and Tennessee, I'll just stay away from that. 2 dumpster fires. Chicago and Arizona. Arizona's playing some pretty decent football right now, and they're at home. I like Arizona in this game. I'll take Arizona -1.5 in that one. So, folks, those are some of my picks that I like for the weekend. We're getting ready for a great Week 9 coming up. We'll be back here on Monday right here on Centex Primetime, 5 to 7 p.m. Hope everybody gets a chance to go out here and watch the Texans get this dub in just a couple minutes over the New York Jets. Get ready for La Vega football tomorrow. La Vega versus Conley is going to be right here on Centex Sports Network, right here on Infinity Sports Radio Central Texas, and on the dial 94.5 FM as La Vega Pirates take on the Conley Cadets. Pre-game is at 6:30. Game starts at 7 o'clock. Also, MCC basketball tips off this weekend. Definitely don't want to miss that. That is where I will be on Friday and Saturday. They'll play at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock. The women play at 6, I believe. Men's team at 8 o'clock on both Friday and Saturday. You don't want to miss this. These are 2 of the best teams in JUCO basketball, and you'll be able to catch all of that right here on Centex Sports Network. Come listen to me talk about this game tomorrow, 6 o'clock and at 8 o'clock on Friday and Saturday for the MCC tip-off weekend. Make sure you guys tune in for that. As always, subscribe to the YouTube Centex Sports Network, Centex Sports TV. We will see you guys next week on Monday. Everybody have a great Halloween night.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex.